guys! Okay, so today we're going to take a look at the Manta nanoparticle tracking analysis instrument, and we'll show you how to set up a sample and run a measurement. Alright, so the first thing we'll do is we'll turn on the Manta. So there's this button right here, so we'll go ahead and click it on. This gives it time to warm up, and then we'll go ahead and clean our materials and prep our sample. Alright, so here's all the different tools we have for setting up our Manta samples. So just to go over them, so this is going to be the cuvette holder, and then we'll have it here. This is of course the cuvette, so we'll usually stick it here. This is like our tool, which we're going to use to pick up things like the adapter, as well as our stir bar, which it can magnetically pick up. And then we use our little wipey to wipe down the cuvette. And then the next thing we'll do is, first we want to clean all of our tools, so we'll show you how to clean everything off. Alright, so now we're going to clean our cuvette. So to clean the cuvette, we're going to flip it over upside down over this port, make sure it doesn't fall, and then we're going to turn on the vacuum until we hear that the vacuum's on. So just making sure like it's suctioned on. And then the first thing we want to do is clean with water. So we'll clean with water 3 times. And then after that we're going to clean with IPA 3 times. And then we'll just kind of leave that to dry for a little bit while we set up some of our other materials, and then we'll go ahead and get our cuvette. So first we'll want to clean our adapter, so we can go ahead and pick it up, and then we're just going to rinse it over some waste, a waste container with some water. And then after that we'll clean it with some IPA. And then we'll just kind of tap it dry, let it dry out for a bit. And then we'll do something similar with our stir bar. And then we'll let those dry out. Alright, so now that we have all of our materials nice and clean, we're ready to set up our sample. So we'll go ahead and put our cuvette inside of our cuvette holder. We'll then pick up our magnetic stir bar, and then we'll just kind of gently drop it inside. And then we'll pick up our adapter, and we'll drop him inside as well. And then you'll just want to make sure that it's all like sitting flush at the bottom. The stir bar didn't get like stuck and it's like lifted or anything. So it looks good. Alright, so now we're going to add 400 microliters of our sample. So we'll go ahead and get a tip. And then you can just aim it into this little hole here. Try to make sure there's no bubbles. Okay, and then we'll toss the tip. And then at this point you just want to check that there's no bubbles, at least on the sides that have like the little channels. So this looks okay. If you want, you can vortex it. And yeah, if there's no bubbles, last thing we'll do is just wipe off the sides. So just trying to wipe off kind of the bottom sides, and then we'll go ahead and stick it into the instrument. So if you look at the cuvette, you'll see that there's this one side with this large channel. So that side we're going to have facing to the left. So we'll open up the holder area, we'll lift this up, we'll stick it nice inside, we'll seal that up, and we'll close, and then we're good. All right, so now we're going to open up the program, the VU 3000. Okay, so now that the program is open, so to set up a measurement, initially we want to look first at the mode. So there's a few different modes. There's like fluorescence, sedimentation. We're just going to do the multispectral particle tracking analysis. You can select what works for your instrument or your experiment. And then for the method that we're going to use, you can either select an existing method or go back and make a method. So you can name the method whatever you like, set some other parameters. You'll want to set up the data path as well. So just pick sort of where you want it to go. And then you can also set some other parameters here. And once you're happy, we can select OK. For sample name, you can go ahead and name whatever this run will be. And then you'll want to click sample information. So here you can select the name and also the sample type. So if it's a sample versus if it's a blank, you can indicate that here. Add any notes you'd like. And then for sample amount and material density, these are not as important unless you're doing like the sedimentation. But the sample dilution is going to be really important. So make sure that one's accurate to get good like calculation concentration values later on. And then also the method and data path. And you'll also want to click Q for processing. This will just add it over to the queue, make it a little easier to find the sample that you just ran. And then once you're all done, we'll hit OK. And once that's all set up, we're going to go ahead and start streaming. And this will give a live view of your particles. Once you have this shown up, we can kind of mess with the camera detection parameters. And also, I guess first we'll look at the laser. So if you look into the SOP, it will give some guidelines on what to set the different lasers at for your type of sample. We're going to be running silica above 200 nanometers, so we're going to use the parameters 70, 12, and 8 as so. But yeah, you can, depending on what your sample is, you're going to need to adjust these accordingly. And then next we'll go to dispersant. So if one of yours is shown, you can just click it. But if you need to add one, you'll just need to know like the refractive index and other information. You can then add it in, click it, and then select OK. And then for camera, so now we want to try to get the detector to see roughly like between 80 to 150 particles on screen. So to do that, we can sort of like do some adjustments on the focus. They look all right now. If they have like too many of like sort of halos on the outside, or if it's you can't even see them at all, then it's out of focus. So something like this would be okay. You can see like the little dots. There's not as much halo stuff on the outside. You can also mess with like the gain, exposure. And then if you just want to like adjust how you see things on screen, you can adjust the monitor part. That doesn't like change how the detector sees it. It just changes what you see on screen. And then you also may want to turn on stirring. That will just kind of mix it up, make sure it's all, I guess, shaken up, and then you can see if the particle number is about the same. And then if you click detection preview, this will help you see what the detector is seeing. So right now it sees 154. It's a little more than you'd maybe want, like it's on the high end, so you may consider diluting it a bit. Once you've done the detection preview and you see how many you have, we'll want to figure out how many numbers of videos you want. So if you have about 80 to 150 particles on screen, then that's you only need about maybe 10 videos. If you only have like less than that, or like only like 5 particles on screen, you're going to want to go up to maybe 25 or even 50. But if you have what we recommend particles, 10 videos should be good. And once that all looks okay, we're going to go ahead and hit start acquisition, and that'll begin the run. All Alright, so now that our sample is done running, we're going to go to video processing. So over here, because we clicked on Q for processing, our sample that we ran will show up right here. If you didn't click that, or you just want to run some other sample, then over here on this left side you can look up whatever data in your folder, find it, and then click add sample, and then it'll add it to this pool. And then if you want to remove one, just select it and hit remove. But once you find, and we recommend waiting to process until you've done all of your runs at once. So if you're not finished yet, you can go back, run more samples, and then we recommend just queuing them all for processing. So once you have your list together, we can go ahead and click start processing. So now that your data is done processing, it'll look something like this under size and data analysis over here. So some things you can do if we click on this button up top, you can adjust kind of the range that it's showing. So if you want to exclude some of these outlier points, whatever you like, and then it'll adjust your data values up here. If you just want the full range though, you can, I don't know, move it back. And then here we have display bin. So this is kind of the standard what you're going to see, but you can always click on a different one, and then whatever you're looking for, and then adjust these. And then once you're happy with it, oh, I guess one other thing over here on the left, you can set the blank. So when we set up the experiment, we set up in sample information if it was a sample or a blank. So here you can go ahead and look for whichever one was your blank and set that, so it has that to account for. And once you're happy with all of your data, we can go ahead and click this button and it'll save the PDF to a report. So you can enter the file name and we'll click OK. And then if we open up the files, this one, so this is what your thing might look like, I guess. So there's going to be some video recordings. If we go to results, that'll kind of show all the data, and then if you save the PDF, it'll show up over here. If you go back to the folder and click on composite images, this will kind of show what each of the individual images looks like under the different lasers, and just kind of how much it moved over time. And yeah, so that's kind of all your data, and then you can just go ahead and copy that over to your flash drive. And then once you're all done with that, you can start shutting down the program. So first we'll want to exit out of the program. Make sure to remove your sample and clean out the cuvette. Make sure not to dump your waste into the cleaner device. That's only for water and IPA. So make sure to always bring your own waste container, put it in there, and then dispose of it according to your sample's hazards. And then clean the cuvette, return everything back to normal. And then if you're the last user of the day, make sure to turn off the instrument. Again, the power button's on the back left. And yeah, that should be everything.